Now, we're joined in studio for about 40 minutes or so, then we'll go to your calls, by Wade Hicks, who has been nice enough to drive to Austin. He was already driving back through since he got back to the continental lower 48 from Hawaii, where he was stranded for 6 days trying to go visit his wife who's in the military. And Wade Hicks is a defense contractor. I'll let him break down his bio short and sweet for you. But, you know, as he pointed out to our crew, he's got one of the little transportation cards, the highest level, where you can go into nuclear power plants. He can go anywhere. But here is the TSA and Customs in Hawaii when he's about to go visit his wife in, was it Okinawa? And they said, you can't fly. So we're going to break down what happened to him. We first heard about this from the Northeast Intelligence Network, and then days after we interviewed Wade Hicks, it ended up being in the Associated Press, you name it. Here's ABC News. No fly list strands man on island in Hawaii. U.S. citizen says he's stranded in Hawaii by no fly list because of his controversial views, which is prepping. NDAA critic stranded in Hawaii at returning up on no fly list. I mean, they had one of the top cricket players in the world and lives in England most of the time, very admired, pro-Western. He criticized drone strikes. He's probably about to be the next Pakistani president. They pulled him off a flight in the U.S. and said, why don't you like the drones? I mean, it's the new political officers, the commissars, like the Soviets had, in your face. So here are all of those articles. This is the new system where there's a checkpoint, they run your data, and you just disappear. That's what's coming next under the NDAA. So he criticizes the NDAA, is put on a no-fly list because the NDAA says they can just disappear you. Well, now they're doing the first stage of that, like the Nazis at the train station checking papers. But now it is biometric. Wade Hicks, again, thank you for taking a route through Texas on your way back to Louisiana. Tell us about yourself. Take your time. Tell us blow by blow what happened to you, what they told you, what you went through, and why you think you were put on that list outside of just the fact that they thought you were controversial.
Well, thanks for having me, Alex. A little professional background about myself. I'm 34 years old. I worked as a civilian contractor for a private company that had a government contract through Military Sealift Command, and I worked with their Special Missions program for approximately 5 years. I've held numerous different variations of security clearances. I have a transportation worker identification credential that's issued by the TSA. Just recently, not even a month ago now, I got a Mississippi Enhanced Concealed Carry Permit, so I can carry a firearm concealed in a government building in the state of Mississippi. To get that requires a pretty intensive background investigation by the FBI. Had I been under any sort of investigation or indictment for anything, they would have never issued that permit. So it's really weird how I could possibly get on a no-fly list. And while I was over there in Hawaii, I'd received a phone call from a service member's spouse offering assistance if I needed a place to stay, which I was really grateful for, but I didn't want to really get anybody else involved in the situation because I didn't know how far they were going to go with this. And
in your own expense, you were there for 6 days, right?
Yes, 5 days.
5 days.
Yeah.
The Associated Press said 6, that's why I said 6.
It started 4, 5, 6 days. But,
yeah.
I landed Sunday, flew a military flight out of Travis Air Force Base, landed in Hawaii on a connecting flight. And on that connecting flight, we had to stop and get off the airplane. They took all of our gear and stuff off. And we had to go out and then go back, get another ticket, go back through security. And when we went back through security the second time, everything went just as it did the first time, perfectly normal. After that happened, sitting in the secured area of the airport waiting, and one of the workers at the Air Mobility Command Terminal, which is active duty Air Force, came up to me and said, sir, you need to come with us. And I went with him. We went over back by Customs, said that Customs had an issue that needed to be resolved before I would be allowed to continue on my flight. I jokingly said, well, you know, I was already checked when I came into California. I didn't bring any fruits or vegetables with me on the flight. And I guess Hawaii is really strict about that as well. But there was no one there with Customs. The offices were locked, the lights were off, doors were closed. It was just like they're as confused about the situation as I was. So I went and hung out in the break room that the Air Force enlisted personnel take their breaks in. And I was there 15, 20 minutes. Then all of a sudden, 2 guys show up with the Air Force security forces and they're like the rapid response team, so they're armed with M4s and grenade launchers. And they show up, and I'm like, hey, you guys here for me? They're like, are you Wade Hicks? I said, yeah, that's me. He says, yeah, we're here for you. I said, well, let's get this out of the way. You know, if you want to search me, I'm unarmed. I don't have anything that's dangerous to you or myself. So if y'all want to search me, let's get this out of the way. Let's get it done. I want you to know that I'm not a threat. And they're like, oh, that won't be necessary. We just got told to come stand by. So that
and they do that all the time now to old ladies. Congressmen have been put on the no-fly list, and it's just getting everybody ready to disappear you. That's what this is. They just put you on a list, and you can't own guns anymore, can't have a job, you just disappear.
Well, it's like a beta test. They're doing it to see what they can get away with and what they can't get away with. And evidently, because my story went viral on the internet, thanks to some friends that, you know, knew the guys over at homelandsecurity.us website, you know, they got my story out because I was really scared.
Yeah, that's Doug Hagman was first gave it to us, and we were able to break it thanks to him.
I was in the situation looking at it going, you know, all right, I'm here in Hawaii. I'm not being detained. They told me I could go. I just couldn't get on an airplane. So I'm really concerned about my safety at that point because, you know, it's really easy to get ran over by a car walking through a crosswalk or something like that. And, oh, well, it was an accident. So I was really watching my back the whole time I was over there, and I really avoided traveling, renting cars or anything like that while I was there.
Now, again, get into why this happened.
Well, back when they passed the National Defense Authorization Act of 2012, they had the indefinite detention provision in that act. And I read it. I was very disturbed by what it said because it basically says that the U.S. military can, if they choose to do so, indefinitely detain a U.S. citizen against their will without any due process.
And no one even know you disappeared.
No, and that's the thing. It's the
thing of take him away to the dungeon. I mean, it's the essence of tyranny.
Yeah, well, they're saying, well, you're a threat because we said so. There's no due process or nothing else. I mean, we've already had one incident where they've killed an American citizen overseas just because he was alleged to be a threat.
And they're setting the precedent. Continue.
Yeah, and that's what I was scared of. You know, well, now I'm on the no-fly list. Okay, how am I going to get home? And I asked the special agent with Customs, how am I going to get home? I don't know. That's her response. Well, I don't know, but you can't fly. Well, there's no way to get off this island unless I either...
And now the IRS is saying, we don't care if Congress doesn't pass a law. If we say you owe money, they're going to not let you leave the U.S. And now they're not letting people take legal money out, money that's after taxes. People are trying to move to Switzerland. They're telling them, no, you can't. They're locking the country down.
They're definitely doing something behind the scenes because I got to see it firsthand. And the special agent's look on her face when we were doing the whole, there wasn't even really an interview process or anything. She was confused about the situation as much as I was. She says, well, do you have any idea why you would be on the no-fly list?
No, they always act like that. It's all part of their joke. We're going to go to break. I want to come back and have you continue what happened and then what happened once they, you know, took you off of it and, you know, getting into the behind the scenes of this new system where they want to persecute people for their mild political speech as a chilling effect. I mean, this is the long, dark winter that Alexander Solzhenitsyn talked about. If we give in to this intimidation, they win, they take over. These are criminal tyrants. We'll be right back.
While we fight to retain our liberty, while we fight to expose globalism, we have to realize we're talking about a very powerful combination of power.
Renowned author and expert Joel Skousen breaks down the globalist plan to shut down America and stage a new world war.
In one day, America will go from day to night. And if you haven't prepared in advance, there's not enough time to prepare in 24 hours, even if you saw it that early.
Coming to the Info War in November is our new documentary film presentation.
Strategic relocation is a systematic way to think strategically in the future about how do I safeguard.
Joel Skousen, Strategic Relocation.
The freeways are going to be crowded, they're going to run out of gasoline, they're going to run out of food, and then they're going to start to go north and south of those freeways.
Joel Skousen is renowned as one of the world's foremost experts in strategic relocation and the securing of your home.
We talk about natural disasters, the health environment, we talk about pollution, the water quality. my personal experience about being in every one of these states.
Government is digging in for the organized, incremental collapse of society and world war.
The U.S. isn't building huge underground bases and bunkers because of some terrorist threat. They know that a massive nuclear attack is coming. They want that attack to come. Most people won't even be ready and won't be able to get out of town when any of these nuclear weapons fall, because there'll be absolute panic.
There is no preparedness without strategy.
What I tell people is that you do have time. Prepare wisely in advance.
This Christmas, give the gift of preparedness. Strategic Relocation, the film, with Joel Skousen and Alex Jones. All right, Wade, I'm throwing a lot of points in here. It's just so crazy that extrajudicially, the former White House Chief of Staff, Rahm Emanuel, now Chicago boss, I've got the video clips. We can play them. We've played them before where he said, hey, we're going to put you on a no-fly list. Then we're going to take your guns. No judge, no jury. And I remember seeing TSA 10 years ago say you're going to have to get a card to have a job anywhere. So they've started with, quote, critical infrastructure. You have one of those cards. Now they're expanding it. But here you are flying to Hawaii, to fly to Okinawa, to see your wife is in the military. You've been a defense contractor. You got all the security clearances. And now you're sitting there. And so what do they tell you? Just at your own expense now, you're stranded. Bye-bye. I mean, go back and finish that part of the story.
Well, the special agent told me that I was not permitted to fly. I was not being detained. And I asked her, I said, well, don't you think there's something wrong with this, ma'am? Under the Constitution, I don't know if you swore an oath to it, but I'm pretty sure the rest of these guys here that are in the Air Force and, you know, even that DOD police officer probably swore an oath at one point in time to the Constitution. I said, now, I'm being deprived of my right of due process. How can you sleep at night when you do things like that? Yeah, they're militarily seizing transportation and outside of law or any authority just saying you can't. I'm sorry, go ahead. Well, the military has a huge problem with that because DHS and the U.S. military are separate. What business does Homeland Security have to tell the military how to operate their aircraft? Exactly. You've got military clearance. They're flying you out to see your wife, which is part of the program. People, you know, there's room on the flights. But I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. So you say, well, this is the Constitution. The Constitution guarantees the right to due process, which I was deprived of. And what did she say? She says, well, I'm sorry. I said, well, you know, not as sorry as I am because this country's just going downhill. And if you're not willing to make a stand and say this is not right, I mean, I guess no one is. Well, that's why we're here. All these people will do whatever they're told. The Nuremberg defense of just following orders. Yeah, well, that's the problem, that they're just following orders. And I made it clear to the guys with the guns in the Air Force. I said, look, I understand you guys don't want to hurt me, but you're just following orders. I understand how that works. You're worried about your careers and things like that. You can't let me go because they'll court-martial you if you do. Of course, they wouldn't let me get on a plane anyway, so it was kind of pointless. But you got to ask them, how far will you go following orders? I've asked active duty military how far they would go, and they have their lines in the sand. Yeah, but the system has a way of moving that line down the road. So finishing up, why did they put you on the list? Well, that's what I haven't found. I haven't found any reason why they would put me on the list. The only thing is what I can assume is I'm outspoken about the National Defense Authorization Act. I've contacted my members of Congress on it. An American contacted the representative? Ooh, that's really bad. Yeah, evidently. Wow, that's evil. Evidently, I guess my viewpoint represents 13,000 people, I guess, is the statistic. Well, I mean, even knowing how to contact a representative is bad. Well, then they must really love me because I contacted 5 senators and 2 representatives. Oh, so un-American to contact a representative. Wow, what's next? You might actually have a free speech. Well, that's it. I mean, not only are they depriving me of due process, they're infringing on my First Amendment right, if that is indeed the reason they put me on the list. We've interviewed Marines and others who they want to become infiltrators, guys they know are really gung-ho and have a great record. They put really good guys on a no-fly list who they actuary out and profile that are business guys that've got to fly, who are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, who are professional, who can manage. That's who they want. And for 6 months, you can't fly. And then the FBI shows up and goes, come with us to a hotel. You're going to get your capacity for your job back, and we're going to pay you. We want you to infiltrate groups and work for us now. And we put you on that list so you'd submit to us. I mean, what? That's how they make you an agent
a minion is they destroy your life for no reason, and they go out and find hard-working, really smart guys that they think will be good slaves.
Yeah, well, it's not going to work with me. They're going to have to kill me first.
Well, I think that's probably what it was. It might not even be that you criticize the NDA. They probably want you because you have a patriot background to infiltrate. If I had to guess, they want you as an infiltrator, and they were going to put you on this list for the next 6 months till you, I mean, do you need to fly as part of your job?
No.
Well, then that might not be it.
I don't contract anymore. I'm out of that line of work. I'm partially disabled because I blew my knee out. So I'm pretty much going back to school for history, and then I want to focus on constitutional law.
Well, that's probably just because you criticized him then. Also, was there ever any prepper meetings you went to or anything?
Yeah. Yeah, I was a point of contact for the Mississippi Preparedness Project for over 2 years.
And then what's the rest of that story? Didn't you guys like think you had a mole in there or something?
We had a guy that came in to the organization, came over to my house, and I have a meet and greet with everybody to kind of get a generalized feel for them and see where their heart is. You know, if their heart and mind's with prepping and with the Constitution and with freedom and liberty, you know, we welcome them in.
Basically evil, yeah.
Yeah. If we don't care what political persuasion they are, Democrat, Republican, Independent, doesn't matter. But this guy came in and he had a really fantastic story about how he was a Navy SEAL. And
yeah, and they always try to radicalize. This is why you're on the list. We're going to come back and finish that story straight ahead. And then about halfway into this 18-minute segment, we're going to go to some of the phone calls, people holding out there. You can just ride shotgun with us out for the rest of the hour. Wade Hicks is here with us.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done has been right.
Right and wrong. A new world order. Now, Wade Hicks is not only an evil defense contractor with a national security clearance, he's been a listener of this show for 5 years. All right, I want to go to some phone calls here, but I've been interjecting a lot. You're going to be on the nightly news tonight with our own reporters here. We're going to have David Knight interview you, who was good enough to dig through all the contacts and find out that I believe you'd contacted us. But the point is that it's good to have you here. We can't give into this intimidation. We're going to lose everything. Again, Wade Hicks was put on a no-fly list and stranded for almost 6 days in Hawaii while traveling from the continental United States to Hawaii in a layover to go visit his wife, who's in the military, in Okinawa. And he was on a military flight. They do that with the spouses when they have the room. It's a good program. And the military didn't particularly like the fact that DHS is there in control of everything when they'd already cleared somebody to be flying. So, I mean, how did they act? Because I want to go back to the guy that infiltrated your public group, but they infiltrate acting like you're doing something wrong, be like infiltrating the Salvation Army, you know, your prepping group. And I think that's probably what got you on the list. But what did they say when they just said, "You're okay, leave now"? You know, just you'll go live on the streets of Hawaii for the rest of your life. I mean, this is going to become a new phenomenon where we're just wandering around stuck wherever we're at because government said so.
Well, you know, I was pretty much stranded there for a week. So I called the special agent the next morning to find out if I was going to be able to have an interview with the FBI and get my name cleared so I can continue on my journey. And she's like, well, we're working on a remedy. It's going to take some time. There's a lot of paperwork that has to be generated. I said, well, I'll give you a week, and then I'm going to get off this island.
And they won't tell you how you get on it.
No.
That's the thing. They probably put you on it.
Well, I have a relative that is in the FBI. I called him personally and said, hey, look, should I go turn myself in? Do they have something on me where I should turn myself in and find, you know, have my due process and get cleared? Because this is crazy. And
No, that's the essence of it. There is nothing. Go ahead.
Well, he said, basically, he says, well, were you affiliated with any type of patriot groups or anything like that? I said, well, yeah. He says, well, that's probably what got you put on the list. And
he thinks that's good. If you're aware of the takeover, which is public, I can play clips saying we're now been taken over by foreign banks. You should now have your rights taken for committing no crime.
Well, I can't allude to what his personal thoughts are on it. I didn't ask him because he was at work, and of course, all the lines there are tapped as well.
Yeah.
But I don't think any true American likes this entire ordeal.
It's outrageous.
It's crazy. And, you know, if one thing can come out of this is that the situation that happened to me, hopefully I can work with Congress and get things done so this never happens to
Bro, they put CNN reporters who've criticized the TSA mildly on the list. They have they've done 4-year lawsuits because they got documents that my name and Matt Drudge's name They teach the TSA we're terrorists. That's been confirmed, but they can't get the full documents. But they teach them we're extremists and all this stuff. Bob Barr is suing them trying to get the full documents. So they're just total creepazoids.
Yeah,
man.
it's you're on the list because we said so. That's the entire thing. There's no due process.
They put Congress people on it. I mean, this is outrageous.
It's all politically motivated.
Anyway, so continue.
So anyway, getting back to the guy that infiltrated our group or attempted to infiltrate the group. He came telling us a fantastic story of how he was a Navy SEAL. He was with SEAL Team 2, and he really didn't like it. He tried to get transferred to another team, but they do a lot of cold weather operations and everything. And the story wasn't making sense because in my contracting days, I've actually been around vessels with Navy SEALs on them and had conversations with them, and they don't talk like that. They don't talk about what they do. I kind of joke around and say they're bipolar because when they have their game face on, that's all they're doing is the mission. It's the most important thing. And then in their personal lives, they're very quiet. You wouldn't know one if you ran into them on the street. And his mannerisms and his actions did not add up to someone that was of that caliber of individual. He did not fit the profile in any way, shape, or form. So as soon as he left the house, I started digging, made a call to JSOC over in California, and requested a FOIA over the phone. I got the results from the FOIA in less than a week. And it said he'd never been in the SEALs, had undergone no SEAL training. I then contacted someone that was in the Mississippi National Guard that was military police. And I asked him, hey, can you check this guy out and let me know, yes or no, is he in the military or was in the military? Because he did have a retired ID. He ran a basic check, just running his name and his date of birth, information that I already had, and nothing came up. But this guy had retired military ID, a DD-214, stating that he had SEAL time. And
so you blew one of their operatives.
Pretty much. And then I just happened to be out in town and was driving down the road, and I saw his truck with the tag that's not registered to him or that vehicle, a retired Afghanistan veteran tag. So I just kind of tailed him, and he went to some federal building in downtown Gulfport. So I was like, well, I guess the guy is a Fed.
Yeah, listen, it's not just preppers or militias. I have tried to go fix a veteran's house they were going to bulldoze, and they sent undercover feds in saying, let's blow up the federal courthouse and stuff. And I followed them outside and it was like an unmarked police car. I mean, they don't want any of us having any community. They don't want Amish. They don't want backyard barbecues. They don't want people growing their own crops. They want you to take the shots, drink the fluoride, and shut up.
They're control freaks. They're all about micromanaging and controlling every aspect of our daily lives. And soon they realize, I mean, they have to realize, if not, they're stupider than I thought. They have to realize that eventually their micromanaging of our daily lives is going to reach a boiling point, and we're going to start pushing back. And we're not going to push back in the protesting way. We're going to push back the way we did in 1776, where we said, enough's enough, you stop or else.
Well, exactly, but that's another plan. They want to start a civil war, and that's their plan. But, you know, whatever happens, happens. My issue is most police and military I talk to are finally waking up because it's gotten so cartoonishly ridiculous. Is that what you're finding?
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. I mean, a lot of people in the military have turned into preppers. We had a lot of people in the preparedness project that are active duty military, retired military, National Guard. We even have law enforcement, and law enforcement has been told, don't belong to those preparedness groups. So they don't really come to any meetings.
They're scared to death. All it is like Civil Air Patrol or Civil Defense that my dad was part of. I was part of Civil Air Patrol. We used to, you know, when I was a kid, you know, sit there and shine our boots and everything and fly around and, you know, report weather stuff. And they're just afraid of the idea of the people being the government, like the sheriff's posse. They're so scared of we the people working with good government because they don't want that. They want centralized total federalization.
Well, that's the exact thing. I mean, the whole goal of the Mississippi Preparedness Project was to help individuals be prepared for any disaster, whether man-made or natural in origin. And we've basically taken ready.gov and put it on steroids, where we're taking people and saying, all right, you need a lot more than 3 days worth of food.
Well, look at the hurricane.
Well, and that's
they're scared of people getting back like old timers did to having a root cellar full of stuff and knowing how to skin a buck and run a trot line. They want domesticated humans, and this prepper movement is an anti-domestication.
They want us dependent on them, and preppers are not dependent on anyone. We're self-sufficient.
So what happened with this guy after you learned he was at the federal building?
We had kicked him out of the organization. We basically sent him an email saying, look, you know, We didn't tell him that that's why we removed him from the organization. He attended one of our events with a bag that may or may not have a concealed weapon in it. He did have a concealed carry permit, but his actions with the bag immediately set off my spider senses, saying something's not right, because he tried to hand the bag off not only to my wife but to another person that was active duty who was Air Force EOD. And of course,
oh yeah, they want to create artificial terror groups, and they will plant bombs on people.
That was my initial concern. Either this is a run.
Well, they'll put one in your car and detonate it and say you did it.
Yeah. Well, there was actually, I was sitting in the back, and through training that the government gave me, I was able to spot 3 people that were there that were watching everything that was going on. And to the average person, they wouldn't be able to see that, but I was back there with a guy that was a military police, and we're sitting there watching him, pointing him out. And when they noticed that we started noticing them, they all left.
That's what's incredible is you try to keep a veteran's house from getting bulldozed, they want to put you in jail. I mean, they just don't want us doing anything. Pretty soon you'll get arrested if you try to tie your own shoelaces.
It's getting there, Alex. And I tell you right now, unless people start waking up and realizing, like, I want to put the call out to the military, y'all need to wake up and get vocal about this. Because if this could happen to me, my wife is in the military, I was a contractor, but even if I wasn't, this could happen to your wife or your kids, where they get put on the no-fly list, and then they're stranded in somewhere probably not as nice as Hawaii. And are they going to be able to have the
Yeah, but next it's going to be not let you have a job, not let you have a gun. They've already said all this. I have been flying out of Austin, and they find 6 silver coins on a guy who was a computer software developer. Turned out he was like a rich guy. And he was going to a coin expo in Las Vegas, one of these guys, and it was just regular silver coins, like a little kid with his coins.
Well, you can't have honest money.
And they got in his face, yelled at him, almost took it, but let him have it. But he said they told him, well, if you'd had a few more, we'd have taken them. And now they have all these TV shows coming out where the military infiltrates prepper groups. They have a new show coming out called Founding Fathers, where it demonizes the founders. It's based in Texas, says, patriots are bad. I mean, it's just crazy. They're getting ready for this.
Well, what they're doing is they're using the propaganda known as the mainstream media to basically program people. Like we have that TV show Revolution, where the militia's bad. They're trying to program the psyche of the Americans that will listen to their propaganda and absorb it, just like the Germans did in World War II, to just blindly follow them no matter what.
There's no doubt the people running the government are super bad, and it's a lot higher than Obama. And I've got FEMA training videos. People can look it up. Just look up FEMA teaches Founding Fathers bad, and they sit there and trash the police. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson. And then now it's in the manuals. I mean, obviously, these are the bad guys. I mean, look, they say the founders of our country are bad. Yeah, because everybody knows if you read what they said. I saw articles last year or earlier this year saying the Declaration of Independence was terrorist.
Yeah, well, they have attorneys that debate that every year, whether it was terrorism or whether it was freedom. But that's where we're going in this country. We celebrate the 4th of July every year, and people think it's about barbecuing and fireworks. They don't really understand what was going on in those people's minds when they signed that document. They didn't go sign the document and have some grand ceremony. They signed that document in secret because they knew if they got caught all there together, they were all going to get killed. And they said, we're going to hang together or we're going to hang separate.
Well, that's right, and they went out and took action. Well, if you look at what happened there, the biggest thing that was over was when they came to take the guns. Just like the Texas Revolution started when they came to take the guns. Come and take it at Gonzales, Texas. The media spins what that was really about. But it finally happened at Lexington and Concord. But the buildup was, if you weren't an insider with the government and the crown, you couldn't own property, you couldn't get a job. Everything was controlled by monopolies. And people were sick of it, including George Washington. I mean, you had to buy your clothes from England. They had laws you couldn't manufacture them here. You had to buy your guns from England. You couldn't have finished goods. It was all meant to keep us down, and it's the same. That's what globalism is.
Exactly, and that's where we're headed. I mean, I played the George Bush 1991 New World Order speech for my in-laws, who were about as liberal as you can get. And they were like, well, what does that mean? And they're saying, well, it's all the neocons. I said, you got to realize this, that there's 2 sides to every coin. You flip the coin, it doesn't matter what side the coin lands on, it's going to be bad either way.
It's a coin.
It's a coin. It's 2 sides of the same evil coin.
Oh, man, I tell you. Let's take some phone calls. Well, I mean, where are you going now on this? I mean, you talked about Congress. We need to get the Congress people and reporters together and have lawsuits about this. But more than this, it's just this convicts the system that they're doing this. This is the proof they're a bunch of out-of-control tyrants. And then the TSA is caught, some of them stealing $1 million a piece a year out of bags, raping people, beating them up, stripping down naked, and announcing they're God and I have power. I mean, these are just crazy people.
The reason TSA can get away with all of that is because they're not sworn law enforcement. They're just people they hire off the street and say, here's a uniform, here's a job. It's no different than a private security officer. A private security officer that works security of the bank can't put his hands on you unless you touch him first. And TSA is like the purple cow, the whole situation, because they're not sworn law enforcement. They don't have to follow the Constitution. They don't have an oath that they swear.
But then they do 20 times what cops do. It's like they have no, it's all fraud.
Well, I'll tell you a little quick story. When my wife went to fly out, just to see if I was still on a no-fly list, I went and tried to get a gate pass, which surprisingly I did get the gate pass. So I went with her to the gate. I intentionally left my wallet in my back pocket to see if the naked body scanner would detect it. It did. So the result of it detecting my wallet in my back pocket was they had to swab my hands down with that little pad to check for explosives. And when I opened my wallet up and they saw my concealed carry permit, the idiot TSA agent says, "You don't have a gun on you right now, do you?" And I just looked him right in the eyes and said, "You know what? You're an idiot."
Because you just gone through a scanner.
I just went through a scanner. You found my wallet. I obviously don't have a firearm on me. You're an idiot. And he just kind of like looked at me and says, "Go ahead." He was just shocked that I would speak.
Well, I got to say, they are, I don't even call them liberals, domesticated chicken necks. Most of the TSA we run into are like commies. I mean, and they're scared of guns, everything. They're just idiots.
They're really, I mean, just the permit scared him. He was worried about the permit. Oh, you don't have a gun on you now, do you? It's like, are you serious? It's to the point now that they're teaching that guns are bad because only criminals have guns. But if you look at every single situation that we've had, there's been armed robberies where there's been someone that had a gun and stopped the armed robbery. But they don't want the. They don't
publicize that. Sebastian in Oregon, you're on the air with the evil thought criminal Wade Hicks. Go ahead.
Hey, how you doing, Mr. Alex Jones?
Good, my friend.
First time caller. Listen to you for 2 years now. Just very excellent information. I've been woken up since 9/11. Kind of victimized from that. Originally from New York, Long Island, Nassau County. Kind of continuing to pray for my friends out there and family.
Absolutely.
It's devastating, and it's horrible because this is like the second biggest event that has taken place over there in New York, and
well, people never expect disasters to hit them, but the truth is, everybody gets hit by disasters a few times in their life, sometimes more, but go ahead.
No, for sure. No, continue. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. What's on your mind today?
Yeah, it's just I'm fed up. It's just a lot of things. I mean, my family, my brothers, I got family and my mother in Ohio, and just they're always getting, and just Long Island, New York is very, I mean, the people are very vigilant out there, but, it's like now they have to be on their tippy toes, and it's just like this is the big one that's kind of like waking them up for the second time again now, and it's dangerous and it's scary when you actually have these lootings and people, just kind of...
Well, what's amazing is the looting is admitted, and they've got more articles out saying we're bad to report on it. It's just really weird how the mainstream media loves to try to set the agenda like they're God, even though they implode more and more every day.
Yeah, it's immoral. It's immoral and wrong to actually, on Mr. Hicks, comment from Mr. Hicks, basically it's intrusive. It's invasive and intrusive and wrong. And
well, what it is tyranny. When they just say you're disappearing into a black hole, you're detained, you can't now fly for no reason. It's all just arbitrary tyranny. It's called capital T, death of freedom, death of America, in the name of protecting America when they run Al-Qaeda. Thank you so much for your call. A few minutes left with Wade Hicks here in this hour. He'll be back on the nightly news tonight to go over more of his story with David Knight, who's hosting the news tonight. Michelle, or is it Michael? We've got to move this phone data bank over here. I think that's a priority because it's getting too far away. Michael in Florida, you're on the air. Go ahead.
How you doing, Alex? How you doing, Mr. Hicks?
Good, sir.
Hey, Michael. Man, I think Mr. Hicks nailed it right on the head when he said, they're testing us. They're seeing what they can get away with. You look back at Katrina and all the rights they took away during Katrina. They went door to door, taking away guns, taking people away. Police chief got right on the news and said, we will go door to door. We will take away your guns. Nobody did nothing about it. Same thing's happening on the East Coast in this devastating storm. Seeing what they're going to be able to get away with. I think, you know, he got put on that no-fly list. It's pretty obvious. You know, he had the wrong people coming to his little get-togethers, and you followed him.
Well, the deal is you just have little get-togethers to get communities to help each other, mutual aid, and they act like it's bad. I mean, they're arresting people with gardens now. Yeah. I mean, they do not want you being prepared. They want you going to Walmart.
Sure. He goes and has a nice meeting with his friends, nice, all respectable people, military people, people with good, you know, upstanding jobs in the community. One of them, he follows him back to a federal building, and poof, he's on a no-fly list.
Well, the globalists, you know, have to go to things undercover to act like you're bad. It's like the Amish. They begged him for a year, moved in next door to him for a year and a half. The feds had spent over $1 million, like $1.5 million. It was like last year. There's been a bunch of these cases. And they got convicted, the Amish, and begged them to sell them milk. They're like, I'll just give it to you. And they're like, just let me pay you. All right. And now I'm taking this across state lines. Amish didn't know what that meant. And they filmed it undercover to show the jury like they were bad. It'd be like if I filmed undercover somebody grinding coffee in the back office and showed a jury, look, they ground the coffee. Here's the hidden camera. It's all show for mind-numb juries that think they're in a CSI episode. And the CSI episode, it's the patriot guy that's a terrorist. So he should go to jail just because he's a patriot.
Of course. Patriots are no good, you know. But you look at talking about hiding in plain sight. I live in Florida on the East Coast, right on the beach. And all last week, as Sandy was flying up the coast, chemtrails everywhere, broad daylight. I mean, hundreds of them, Alex, hundreds of them. I couldn't believe my eyes, but people don't know what they're looking at, so they don't even try to hide it. You look at, you know, I was talking about hiding in plain sight and breaking the laws. Look at, you know, Obama leading the UN Security Council.
Obama said he wants the UN to oversee our elections when they're even more criminal than our government. No, I mean, it's all about flaunting it in our face. Great points. That's a great caller. Well, here you are after listening to the show for, 5-6 years. Here you are, buddy. What do you think of the operation? You got a little bit of a tour?
Well, yeah, obviously it's a lot more impressive than I thought it would be. I thought you were a little bit more smaller operation, but evidently the InfoWars going full on now. Well,
you notice we're now moving the crew next door. We've now moved next door too, and we got a whole bunch of stuff we're going to launch. But the reason we're doing that is we're launch the new magazine that folks can now get the November issue and our best issue yet at InfoWarsShop.com and support us. The PrisonPlanet.tv memberships to see the nightly news. The films we're making, strategic relocation of the films now out. I mean, we're reaching a lot of people, so I'm putting everything now into growing the operation to the maximum level because there's no future if we don't beat these people. And what they're doing is so outrageous. If we just call their bluff, they're going to fail. But if we get all scared and roll over, it's over. Wade, I want to commend you for your courage and saying no to these people.
Thank you, Alex.
Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.